All right, let's have a look at some more treasures I've acquired. I'm not sure how many people are into collecting literature, but I've got some neat stuff here. We'll take a look at it right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Ross the Oliver Man, and sales literature. Not only is it neat to look at, but you learn things from it too, because a lot of times you can see pictures of the equipment, the way it looked when it was, you know, new. A lot of times experimental. But anyway, so I got this copy of 1600 four-wheel drive literature, which the 1600 four-wheel drive was very scarce in real life, so I can imagine that the literature is probably just as uncommon. But anyway, I try to collect one of everything, and this is one I didn't have, so I don't remember where I got it either. If it came off eBay or if it came off of Facebook. Don't remember. Here's a 1950 GM, the most powerful row crop tractor built. Two-wheel drive. Giant 7/8 bottom power, 10-foot radius. Basically the same brochure as any of the 50 series, except, you know, GM motor in the pictures. New and time-proof features all around. Pretty snazzy. When I was a kid, my cousins that have the deer combine, they had one of these just like this, a two-wheel drive. And it was owned originally, I've talked about that before, by an old man, and he actually ran triples on it when he farmed down in the bottoms. It had Moline fenders on it because one of the claws had come open and the field cultivator or something came up over the tire and ripped the stuff off, and he jumped clear. But I wish I had that tractor. The motor messed up when I was a kid, and they ended up selling it to an Oliver dealer, and he parted it out. So that's a shame. I wish I had thought, and even if it had sat in the corner of the shed, it still would have been worth something now. But oh well, can't win them all. And now the 53.99. This is not a Super 99, as some people make the mistake. Some people in the Half Century of Progress videos were making that mistake. There was a 1953.99 there. They were calling it a Super 99, and that is not the same tractor at all. This was made for 1 year in 1953 to fill out the line of the fleet lines, and basically 6-cylinder engine up here and then a 4-speed transmission back here. The back half was basically the same as the old unstyled 99, and they just put a 6-cylinder motor in front of it to fill out the line. Your choice of rugged 6-cylinder engines for the fuel you prefer, gasoline or diesel. Easy to start Husky 6-cylinder diesel. The Mighty 99. That was a pretty big horse back in its day. I mean, I'm sure that was some people probably thought, who needs a tractor that big? But look at how streamlined. Yeah, that's a pretty neat tractor if a guy could find one. I've seen several sell, but just never latched onto one yet. Pretty nifty. Whole bunch of reading back here that we're not going to get into. The big thing I want to look at though is this. I told myself I wasn't going to collect much literature of the other brands, but this thing just caught my eye, and it was too darn neat. Actually, it was on an auction, and I lost. But then the guy who won didn't contact the seller, so he gave it to me for my bid. And this is basically the equivalent of a full line catalog here. And it's from the years of the stuff that I have, like the 2020 and that 55 combine. So this is the first time I've looked at it in person. So we'll see if it lives up to my expectations and what I paid for it, but I think it will. So in here we have tractors, which is good. 2020 RULUHU. Ours is an HU, a high utility. And, you know, a lot of the ones you see are the RUs, the regular utility. So there was basically a low, medium, and a high size. Alright. And here you can see the pictures of it. 54 horsepower, 2020. 2020 RU, 20 inches of crop clearance. LU, 17 inches of clearance. And this one is like ours. More than 2 feet of crop clearance. Pretty cool. I'm not exactly sure how this... I see arrows and stuff, so I'm wondering if stuff folds out. I do not want to damage this, as it was many dollars. I think it... yeah. I think I get it now. Gentle. Come on. Oh yeah, pretty cool. What's interesting at first blush about this, even the HU in here does not have adjustable row crop axles like ours does. So that's interesting. Probably not the best lighting for this, but it's very hard to film literature. If you've ever tried to take pictures of it or whatever, the glossiness, either it's going to have a glare, or in my case here, it's going to have a shadow on it. But anyway, tells you all the speeds and the dimensions. Shipping weight for the gasoline was approximately 4,850 pounds. So that's pretty slick. Yeah, this is going to take us a long time to go through this book, because I don't want to ruin it. There's all our dimensions, horsepower, specs. The gasoline one is 53.9 horsepower. 2020 Grove and Orchard. Never, ever, ever seen one of those. Ever. I'd be curious if anyone out there watching has one, because that's kind of a... I imagine they were probably only sold in like Florida, but that's pretty neat. Easy access for servicing. Well, who doesn't like that? Heavy duty transmission. That's interesting. That must be the shifter setup for the Orchard. Because of the height, they don't have the height, so the levers are angled 90 degrees. That's bizarre. Planetary final drives. Hand clutch. That's interesting. Differential lock. I'd like to see one of these little Grove versions up close. See all the ways that they modified it to make it fit. All the different features you'd have if you had a Grove tractor. Neat. 2510, which I never understood how it could be sold at the same time as the 2020, because Grandpa always told me that one of his pals bought a 2510 just like this setup the same time he brought the 2020, but in one of the other videos somebody said that the 2510 was kind of like a in-between model, and so it was indeed sold at the same time. And there is the proof. It's in the book. It's basically the tricycle version of the 2020, I believe. 2510 offers all the time-proved 3020 and 4020 features. Heavy duty all the way. Sure. So that's pretty cool. 3020. I only spent one page on it. 4020. Those must have been out for a while already, maybe, and that's why they didn't. Or here, maybe this section covers all of the things. I didn't realize that you could get a Roll-O-Matic still on like the 20 series. I learned that the other day on something else. I saw one that had that. $30.20 utility. I almost bought one of those on that auction where I bought the 1755. It wasn't hardly bringing anything, and it was a solid old tractor. It didn't run, but 4020. I'm not seeing anything in here that talks about where you have to shake the steering wheel to get it to start, but that must be on a separate page. Basically it's just all the features. I'm not gonna bore everybody with all that. Power shift transmission. If a guy wanted to take the time to read this, he could probably learn some stuff, because it pretty well spells it out for you. Quick hitches. Okay, I'm getting bored with the 3020 and 4020. Let's go on to something more interesting. More features. Weather shield. That's kind of neat. Heat housers. Accessories, weights, mufflers, the heavy duty John Deere weather caps, steel cab, tractor warning lamp, implement warning lamp, farm tire pump. I've got one of those. The big 5020. The tractor, we worked on one of these once before at the shop too, and it looked to me like after they built the tractor they thought, hey, we probably should put a front axle under this thing. It just looked like it didn't belong, but whatever. Standard tractors, high crop tractors. Basically, I think anything that they had was in this book in this year. $25.10 high crop. $30.20. $40.20. Oscillating front axle. That would be a wild ride if you were up that high. Radius rods. The 1010 Orchard and Grow. Wonder why that's in this 20 series book, unless they made them at the same time as well. It says these pages replace pages that are dated 8 of 63, so interesting. Agricultural crawlers. 2010 crawler. There we go, that's neat. The 8020 diesel. I'm not a deer history person, but I believe they made some 8010s and then they pulled those back in and changed them to 8020s. So if you have an 8010, you have something very unusual. And these are unusual too. I don't think I'd ever seen one in person. 200 horsepower, 6-cylinder GM diesel. Now we're on to the other stuff. Implements. I mean, there's everything in this book. Subsoilers. Yeah, we're just gonna peruse till we see something that catches our fancy. But drawn tool carriers, cultivators, subsoilers, coil spring standards, ditchers. I've seen one of those for sale before. That's kind of an awkward looking thing, but kind of different. Border discs, buck scraper, tillage equipment, all different types of plows, drawn plows. Here's what I'm interested in, is integral plows, because I've got that one that came with the 2020. I've got the book for it too. I don't know if it's an F45. I'm gonna have to look. I don't know what the difference is between an F45 and like an F115, 125. If it's the tail wheel makes the difference, in which case it would be this. I'll have to go out there and look at that thing and see if it still says on it what it is. There's your semi-mounts. You never saw any of those around here. They were all Olivers. There's a few maybe, but very few John Deere semi-mounts. Disc plows, bedders, disc harrows, offset harrows, field conditioner, spring tooth harrows, rigid harrows, planting equipment. This should be the 494A, just like what we had. That one's set up just like the one I took to Dad, with the insecticide and all that on there. Two planter hitch, sure. $694, $695, $894. Man. Offset design, don't know what that's about. Oh yeah, look at all of this. I saw one of those beams for sale once at an auction. Didn't buy it though. There you go, cultivate in one pass. $2.90. I had one of those. I gave it to the little neighbor boy. Forage equipment. We could go through this all day, but stuff like this is mainly why I bought this book, because it's got, like, we've got this mower. So I'm interested in the stuff that I actually have, and Grandpa would have bought new at this same time, because this was the era exactly when he was buying equipment. Oh, the 37 trail type mower, man. We mowed the heck out of that thing. Side mount mower. I think those would have been more handy to mow with all the time, but people probably just didn't like hooking them up. Otherwise, I think I'd like to watch next to me instead of behind me all day long. Number 10. 880 hydrostatic drive windrower. That's kind of neat. Don't think I've ever seen one of those. 215A windrower. That's probably not the... That looks a lot like the ones Oliver sold. Swath fluffer. Sounds fun. So the question might be, how come guys, like, why wouldn't they just buy this if it was available versus the, like a sickle mower? Well, in the case of like the pull type sickle mower, for a lot of them, that was a big upgrade from what they were using, and that is very much like Grandpa's case, because he was using a sawed-off horse mower with the tongue sawed off and try to pull it. And so I'm sure that his hydraulic lift tractor PTO sickle mower seemed like it was light years ahead of that, so it never occurred to him, hey, this thing might be the better way to go, you know. Plus that was probably super duper more expensive, but anyway, that's why I think, because you got to understand that these guys in this era even were still replacing horse tools. Some of them were pretty cheap. They didn't buy new stuff until they absolutely had to. 567 wheel rake. They made more rakes than I figured they did. Look at that. 594 side delivery rake. Available on steel. 858, 894, and 896. The sulky rake. Forage harvesters. Number 6, number 12, number 34. I mean, there's a lot of different choices here. There we go. There's another piece we have. A 24T twine tie baler. If you have a farmer who's interested in a low-cost, big-capacity baler, introduce him to the John Deere 24 Series balers. And that's what we have. And boy, has it baled some bales. Special equipment. Ours has the slip clutch on it. That was optional. I don't remember if it's got this wheel. I don't think it does, because I thought about putting that on, but it's got the bale counter. It's got a toolbox. It's got this long chute. It's got a needle shield. It does not have a flail pickup. That's interesting. Never knew that existed. 224. Wonder what the difference was with those between the regular and just shielded more. I like that it has the shorter PTO shaft instead of that. I'm gonna probably have to do that to mine, because I broke that little thing once on the... If I can go back to the picture of it here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. See, mine pivots the whole length of the thing, and then it's got like a bearing in a pillow block on this, and that I broke that thing one time. Found another one, but anyway. 214. Huh. I didn't realize that those were all sold at the same time. I was thinking that some of those were like replacements. Wagon thrower. Elevator. Barn conveyor combination. That's kind of neat. High density baler. Bale elevator. Barn conveyor. Forage blowers. I got one of those. 60H. There we go, mounted on a truck. That's pretty neat. Forage wagons. Silo unloader, that's neat. Don't think I've ever seen one of those, but you wouldn't, because that would be inside of a silo. So, pretty neat. Harvesting. Now we're getting into more stuff that I have. Let's get to our combine. There's the 45. High-low combine. There we go, 55. Just like it. Many new features for 1967, and that's what mine is, a 1967. High torque lugging characteristics feature new for 1967 303 cubic inch 6-cylinder engine. Net observed horsepower is 72. There you go. So that's it. And there's the tine reel, just like what it, similar to what it had. The one we had, I think, had 5 or 6 bats on it, and it had end plates on it. But yeah, that's it. Combine cab. That's a different type of cab than what I got, but I've seen those before. Interesting. 95, 105, etc. 55H, the hillside combine. Yeah. Miscellaneous equipment. Spreaders, loaders. See if our loader's in here. I don't see it. Probably went past it. Ours is a 37 loader. Manure spreaders. 36A loader. Man, maybe the 37 loader came out later and he bought it later. That's possible. 46, 47. LF fertilizer distributor, got one of those. Got 2 of those actually to try to make one. Never got that done yet. Spin spreader. Never seen one of those. Look at that little fertilizer buggy. Never saw one of those around here, that's for sure. A John Deere anyway. Number 5 sprayer. Oh, look at that. They were no stranger to using barrels for sprayers either. Just like the Oliver sprayers. Huh. Oh well, we could look at this all day. Grain dryers, shellers, dozers, snow plows, gyro mower, heavy duty elevator. But anyway, I think that's a pretty neat book. I gave several dollars for it. I won't say what, but I think it was worth it. Because it's pretty complete. I mean, just neat stuff. And it's like all this literature, you know. If you can't afford to collect the tractors, you can collect the literature. There's an entry level for you, you know, where you don't have to spend tons of money. When you start buying some of this more obscure stuff, then yeah, you're gonna spend a lot on a piece of paper. But average Joe can be a literature collector, if you're just smart about it and don't, you know, do your research and don't overpay for stuff. But if it's something that's in good condition and it's hard to find, you're gonna have to shell out a little cash, just like a book like this. Yeah, with all of those pieces. Most people, you got to watch, because they would part this book out. They would take each slice out of that book and sell it for $20-$30 a page, and then to me that makes this book not, you know, yeah, you make more individually, but this is worth something as a unit to me. So anyway, I don't know how interesting this was, but that was the first time I looked through that book, and that was kind of neat. So yeah, just keep your eyes open, because you never know when you might find an interesting piece of history like that. So there we go. As always, if you enjoy my videos, give them a thumbs up. That helps out the channel, and it doesn't cost you anything. Leave a comment. Tell me that you liked it, or tell me that you hated it. Tell me I'm a moron. I really don't care, but anything that you say helps us out too. So thank you again, as always, for watching, and I will see you in the next one.